Okay, resuming our discussion, Mr. Hessdoerfer, you came to Waco shortly before World War I.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested in your memories of what Waco was like during this period of time, World War I.
Well, Waco was a thriving place, I'll tell you. You go home, go downtown at night, and there were so many soldiers. You see, we had Camp MacArthur out there. So many soldiers downtown, and the business was wonderful. It helped us, of course. We had a lot of people, married folks, young folks, that took apartments and rooms in our neighborhood, you see, and that was all good pay too, because they had a salary coming and they knew what they were going to do, and we did a wonderful business. That helped us an awful lot. After the first year we were in business, we had such bad luck, and then this came along, and that helped an awful lot. And I remember now, we had the Michigan and Wisconsin boys here, and they had what was called a Wismic Cafe on Austin Avenue, and they baked cherry pies out of this world. They were known for that. And
this cafe?
This cafe, yeah. And everything was just always lively. That's the first time I remember seeing what would be a mirror, only it's nickel, you know, reflective metal. The boys had those instead of mirrors to shave by or whatever they wanted to do. That's the first time I remember seeing those reflective metals pieces that would show you just like a mirror, and it was nice. And we'd see the MPs come along, and sometimes they'd have a boy by the neck too, you know, and he'd misbehave some way, and I had a friend of mine that run a sort of a automobile service between MacArthur and Waco town here. After his work, why he'd go out and get him and pull him in from MacArthur and then take him back out. He made a wonderful fringe benefit that way.
Oh, the soldiers' cars?
Yeah, with it, like taxi, you know.
Oh, transporting the soldiers.
Transporting the soldiers, yeah.
But you've told about them marching from MacArthur down to the troop trains, though, haven't you?
The what?
Didn't you say they used to march from Camp
yeah.
MacArthur
well,
down to the
they'd
train?
go on marching. We'd see them, yeah. We'd see them come in. They'd pass our store often, and marching, you know, from Camp MacArthur for exercise or whatever it was, part of their duty, I guess, part of their work. And people would always go out on Sunday, especially out to Camp MacArthur. You could go out there, you know, and see how they lived, and it's very interesting.
So, your family had retained German culture.
Yeah.
Did they speak German?
Yes, my mother and father did. I never did. I picked up a lot of. My mother used to sometimes, for instance, they used to have an idea. If you were wiping dishes and you dropped a fork or a knife, you know, it meant company. That was an old idea, and it used to be the Gabel de Mann. No, let's see, the Messer de Mann, the Gabel de Frau. That means the knife, the man, and the fork, a woman, going to visit. And the same thing, dish rag. If you dropped the dish rag, it was going to something was going to happen to you. That's all old stuff, though. Of course, that's not in late years, but that's really when I was just a boy, you see.
In Waco?
No, that wasn't in Waco. That was in St. Louis, yeah.
But when you were in Waco, did you were you involved in German cultural organizations?
No, the only thing they had what was called the German Central Verein. It was a club on 9th and Webster, I think it was. And you had to belong to it, and in order to belong to it, you had to be introduced by somebody, and that would stand good for you. Well, of course, when we moved to Waco, why, this uncle of mine, Philip Ball, belonged to it, and so did Elmer Wheatley. That was my cousin's folks, and they belonged to it. And of course, when I moved here, why, he got me into it. And we used to go down there, and you go down there and bowl or play billiards, or they had a music machine, and then they also sometimes had a small band, and you could dance, and you could down there if you wanted. They had tables in the yard and trees, and you could take your lunch in there and eat it there if you wanted to. And then they'd sometimes have oyster fries. They'd have a great big grate and a big fire on it, and then they'd dump a bushel or so of oysters on that. And when they got hot and roasted, why, you'd pick them off and open them and eat them, you see. And that's the connection we had with it. But it was entertaining. When we didn't go to the picture show, why, we went to the German Central Verein, and it was very nice.
Do you recall resentment against German-speaking people and against the Verein, the German Union here during World War I?
I didn't quite get that.
Do you recall any resentment against German-speaking people
yes.
during?
Yes, indeed. That very club. You see, the older people, one in particular that was at the head of the Schramm, S-C-H-R-A-M-M, Schramm, he was an old, dyed-in-the-wool German. And of course he was for the Kaiser. And then there were a lot of other older ones. And the younger people, of course, why, they couldn't see it that way. And my father happened to be one of the younger people. That is, he wasn't young, but he was young in his idea about that. And he said the Germans were just land grabbers, that's all. And it almost caused little hard feelings between the crowd, because, and my father wouldn't give up, of course. He was like I mean, if he stuck to something, he stuck to it if he thought it was right. And there was a lot of dissension down there. Never any fights or anything, but then it caused a little dissension here and there. And I can tell you another thing too. We had a customer that was with the government. Now, I don't know what he did or what, I don't remember his name even, but he was a customer. And at that time, you were supposed to give, during the war, you were supposed to make them buy a certain amount of flour with a certain amount of lard, I think it was. You see, we had rationing.
Mm-hmm.
You were given coupons, and with those coupons, you bought some of the more scarce items, you see. Instead of being able to hoard them, you couldn't hoard them. And we were supposed to, being in the grocery business, we were supposed to see that a person bought, I think it was meal with flour or flour with lard or something like that. And I had a customer that, I don't know why she disliked me, but for some reason, I think it was because she owed us some money and I tried to get it. But at any rate, she reported that she had gotten some cookies from us that had glass in them during the war. Now, with that German name and that glass in the cookies. Well, it happened, it was in these little two cookies with a white center and then all chocolate on the outside, you see. And she reported that down there to the federal authorities. And of course they came out to ask us about it. And of course we told them, well, we didn't know anything about it. And I says, well, it says, the cookies come like they are, I says, we'd have to break them open and then seal them again. And of course that, and the fact that this man that was a customer of ours vouched for us, he says, I know Hessdoerfer, he says, and I know how they do business, and know their character. He says, I'll vouch for him. And that's we had gotten into trouble that way. Yeah, oh, they were, especially if you had a German name, well, that wasn't so good.
Did your business suffer any during World War I because of anti-German
Oh,
feeling?
no, not among friends or anything like that, no. No, that's the only incident we had, that was caused by this woman. I don't know what her grudge was, but she had a grudge of some sort. But it was prima facie evidence there that we couldn't seal a cookie after it was broken open, you see. And it was, they traced it, however. They found that the cookies had been laid out ready to seal and put together, and somebody broke a window, I think, or something. And some of this had gotten onto the table with the cookies, you see. And that's how it got in there. But they traced it back.
To the company that made them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, across the country, during World War I, the presence of soldiers seemed to have led local authorities to try to eliminate illegal whiskey stills and prostitutes.
Yeah.
Did you see any like that in Waco? Did
Well,
they try to clean Waco up for
no,
the soldiers?
I don't, I suppose that, I don't remember whether those places were off limits or not for the soldiers. I just don't remember.
But you do remember those places.
Oh yes, yes. Oh yes. I remember old Molly Adams, 2nd Street, they used to call it 2nd Street, the assignation houses, red light district.
Assignation
Oh,
house
yeah.
on 2nd Street. Molly Adams,
Molly Adams,
and she was one of the more famous.
she was the madam.
She was the madam.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I'm coming to town in the morning. I used to have to come right through there. It was about on 2nd Street. We used to call it 2nd Street. And I used to have to drive through there to get to the square, you see. Of course, that was eliminated finally.
Not in connection with the soldiers, though.
Oh, no, it had nothing to do with the soldiers, no. But I remember that it was here. It probably wasn't here long after we got here, but it was here when we came to Waco.
Now, in these years, World War I, in fact, for a considerable period of time in Waco history, there was a train called the Interurban that ran out of Waco up to Dallas. The Interurban?
Oh, Interurban, yes, yes.
Interurban.
Yes, we used to
you?
ride that to Dallas often. Mm-hmm.
About how long did it take you to get to Dallas on that?
Oh, about a little over 2 hours, maybe.
Not an unfavorable...
It went pretty good, yeah. You see, it had no stops. It stopped at Hillsboro, I think. I don't know whether, I don't believe it stopped at West. I think it stopped at Hillsboro, and then on to Dallas. And you take it downtown and get on there, and I can see it come down Austin Avenue yet, by George, and go over the bridge. But I don't remember whether Waco had double car track on Austin Avenue or not. Do you remember when they tore it up when it was double track? I don't think it was, because our car line used to pass our house on Sanger, and on 18th and Sanger, 18th between Sanger and Fort was a double track that they pull off onto one while the other one get by and go on out to the Yaco Club. That's Waco Club, H-U-A-C-O it was, Waco Club.
Yeah.
That was where the car line ended. That was about 6 or 8 blocks further than ours on 22nd. And it was, while it was going from there out to the club and back to that point, while the other car was going to town and coming back, you see, and then they'd meet. In other words, it was single track from that 18th and Fort, between Fort and Sanger, 18th to the clubhouse. It was single track, I know, past our house, but I don't know what it was downtown.
Now that was the
That was the
electric.
regular city.
That was the city.
Yeah, that was
train.
the city.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that was the city.
The trolley.
Trolley, yeah.
Now, you didn't have a car until, well, when was it that you got a
We
automobile?
got our first automobile. We had 2 horses, one of them for delivery and one of them we used to use with a buggy, and then we switch them, of course. One used one in the morning while we'd let that one rest in the afternoon and use it at night if we went out or something like that. But I don't know when. I imagine it must have been about 1914 or 15, I imagine, that we got our first Ford. And we had it fixed so I could take the back off, the trunk off, and I had a dolly that I'd shove up and pull it off, and then I'd put I put the delivery top, which I built with side curtains and back curtains, on there for delivery. We delivered during the day with that, and then I'd take the delivery part off and put the trunk back on for going out.
In the evening.
I think it was about 19 or 14 or 15. I think we had it during the war, if I'm not mistaken. But up to that time, where we had horses and wagons, of course.
But even after you got the automobile, you would take the interurban if you were going to Dallas.
Yes. We didn't. Other people might have, but we didn't go to Dallas or any place with it. No, we take the interurban.
Because it was much more
Yeah, well, it's more
convenient?
convenient. Then we didn't have the highways that we have now, of course, between here and Dallas. It was just the old Dallas Road. Well, it's still in existence, but you wouldn't want to go to Dallas on it because it was too rough. But
It was a dirt road,
yeah,
probably.
you'd go right through Hillsboro, though. That was a nice place. We'd stop at the Edmonds, I think, Cafe. Everybody stopped there if they went to Hillsboro. It was a lovely cafe, and get their lunch, or dinner, breakfast, whatever you wanted.
And that was also a stop for the interurban.
And the interurban stopped there at Hillsboro.
How often did the interurban run?
I think it had a schedule about every 2 or 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken, during the day. You see, that is a very convenient way for anybody, if they had shopping to do that didn't have in Waco maybe, although Sanger and Goldstein both were pretty up to date. While sometimes they'd find something that they couldn't get, they'd go to Dallas for it. And it was very convenient. It was very nice. It was a nice motor travel. It was comfortable, and the big cars, large cars, long cars, bigger than the city cars were,
How many cars would there generally be on the trip up to Dallas? More than one car? full
Oh
of
no,
people?
just one car.
Just one
yeah,
car.
just cars were separate. Yeah.
And would this one car be pretty full of people typically?
Yes, as I remember, they had pretty good patronage. Yes, pretty good patronage.
It was strictly a passenger train.
Oh
wasn't it?
yes,
It didn't,
oh
did
yes.
it carry
No, I don't remember any package or anything. Now there may have been a compartment someplace there on that car that they would have done something like have a parcels delivery or something, but I don't remember it. All I remember is the car.
There wasn't any equivalent rail traffic to the south, was there? To Austin or San Antonio?
No, I don't remember anything like that.
It ran just to Dallas, to the north.
Yeah, railroad is about the only thing.
Yeah, the ordinary rail line, the Missouri, Kansas,
Yeah,
Texas.
we had the H&TC and the Texas Central and the Houston something, those 3 or 4 of them, and the Cotton Belt, all out of the Cotton Belt Depot. And then we had the Katy Depot. Cotton Belt was on fourth or let's see, fourth or fifth in Jackson, I think. I know Mary, and then Katie was on Jackson, I think, eighth in Jackson.